Tanto ako magante kayo ang totemtik. Tapos coach. Francis agigit. And there na siya atin siya sun. Nere counts just screen gani kung peochin. The nista no neo sam tato pipuna nega. Nega skana ka sa stege me watch no igid. Aga nigi pio begin to screen gani houses to scone de ba go sam nigi tato pipuna. So hello everybody, kita tam skatana. I greet you all. My name is Darian Achkate or Darian Achigate. I come from the Cowes First Nation. I grew up on Cowes until I was about 17. But I'm currently living right now in Regina, Saskatchewan. I'm on the reserve right now at my mom's house actually. But I live in Regina. But like she said, I'm a sessional lecturer at First Nations University of Canada, teaching the Cree language in Hiwewin, the basic beginner levels. And the way that I learned before we actually get into the language itself, let's see, Tanigi. Oh, Tanigi. Yeah, we say Tanigi. Tanigi. Sorry, I always look at the chat. Always gotta look at the chat. We say that for thank you. That's one way you can say thank you. It's Teenigi, Teenigi. Or if you go up north, it becomes Teenigi, Teenigi. So, but like I was saying, I'm a sessional lecturer at First Nations University, and I got my undergrad degree, my bachelor's in Cree language literacy. And I was able to learn the language to a point now that I'm able to teach others. And that was my main goal, in learning the language, being able to take as much as I can of it and be able to give it to others. Because we don't, in my family, we don't have the language anymore. Nigiwanita nan kaya sis na biggest nan. We lost our language a little whiles ago in my family. The last people to speak any indigenous language in my family were my great grandparents, but I never got to meet them. So I grew up with lack of language. I grew up knowing I was Cree, but I always felt like something was missing because I wasn't Cree. I knew I was Cree by blood, but I just felt like I wasn't, Cree because I didn't speak my language. I didn't practice culture. And so when I went to Regina, I moved to Regina to get my higher education at First Nations University. And I was actually doing a degree in environmental studies in the beginning. I wasn't really focused on language, it wasn't my plan in the beginning. I was more so wanting to be an environmental scientist and learn more about how we could use, safe energy, solar energy, use wind turbines. I wanted to learn more about that stuff. And I took one class, my very first class at First Nations University in 2016. My very first class on my very first day was Cree 100 with Darren Okamesim Kagitit, the late Darren Okamesim. And from there, the language just started to become more of an interest. I started to become, more focused or more wanting to learn my own language. And I thank, I thank you, Darren Okamesim. Of course, for ones that know, he had passed away 2019. And he was one of my main teachers, one of my main role models, somebody who I wanted to be like. So that's why when I do teach, I go back and I remember how I was taught in those same classes. With this class, what I want to do is be able to introduce you to a very beginner level of Cree, and from there, it's all up into the learner. That's how it is. What I learned is that, especially with language, it's the learner that dictates how far they want to go with it. You can take what you want from this class. You can learn as much as you can, but it's up to you as a learner to take what you learned and go out and use it and learn more from that. So I got my undergrad in Cree language literacy, of course, but to take the next step, I had to go out and be Cree. I had to learn, I had to live Cree. So that's what I did for about the latter half of my degree, is that rather than looking at books about Cree and trying to read and write it 24/7, I went out and I spoke Cree with people who could also speak it. And from there, that's how my spoken, my oral skills came into be, is going out and living the language. So that's what I always say, is make sure that you take from this class and you go out and not only just speak the language, but live the language, because there's a lot that you can learn, not only from classes, but just from the language in general. Or are you able to enable screen sharing? I don't think I can share my screen.
Oh, let me do that real quick.
And yes, Darren, he was a really good professor. He was amazing at what he did. And then when I got to my higher level of classes, I started taking Nikiuewan classes from Solomon Rat. And Solomon Rat is, a first language Cree professor who, has his feet in both worlds. He can teach from a Western standpoint, and he can also teach from our own indigenous perspective. And he does it very, very good. So that's why when we lost our friend Darren Pagitit, I really got closer with Solomon to, help me with the language. And let's see. Not so much, no. I make my own stuff for resources. I do use some of Solomon's stuff. I shouldn't say we aren't going to be using it, but a lot of the stuff is going to be provided for week to week. We're going to go through a little rundown of what I plan to do for the next 10 weeks in this class. But of course, that always with the language, we might take a left turn when we're supposed to go right, because that's how language is sometimes. We talk about something, we have a plan to go learn a word, and all of a sudden it turns into a different word, and all of a sudden it turns into just a whole teaching. And that's what I'm expecting from this class, is that, even though I have a set plan to follow, we can talk about anything that anybody's interested in learning about the language. Before we actually get into the actual bulk of tonight, I want to show you some really good websites. If you guys are ever interested in learning Cree in your own time, or you're looking for Cree, resources, these are 3 websites that give to the coordinator to maybe send out to everybody after the class. And they're just websites that you can go and use in your own free time if you want to learn Cree, outside of class. Or if you are a teacher, like if you're a teacher in public school or teacher on a reserve school, and you're trying to look for resources, Cree resources. This website, Cree Literacy Network, is a really, really good website to visit. This is where you can find resources for the Cree language that are completely free. You don't have to pay nothing. All you have to do is, have a printer beside you and be able to connect to Cree Literacy Network. And it's been going since 2010. And like it says, it's been promoting the work of lifelong language warriors. And those language warriors are ones that, we still have today, and some that may have gone. So, for example, like the late Frida Henneque was really vital in creating this literacy network. She had a big part in the startup of this. And of course, our friend Darren Okamesom Kagitit, he was really passionate about, getting resources out there for Cree teachers, getting resources out there for learners. So this is a good website for, like I said, for anybody that wants to learn more about Cree or needs Cree resources. We have a bunch of different kinds of stuff. So even just, learning to introduce yourself, that's kind of what we're talking about today. But if you want to do it in your own time, maybe you have somebody, a friend or family that's not able to be here today. They're coming next time. This is one place where they can go and listen to Solomon introducing himself. It's going to be kind of the same stuff we're talking about tonight, and so on. We have a bunch of different kinds of things that you'll be able to look in here. And I like this, all the different kind of Cree communities we have across Canada. And not only that, but it has their traditional names in the language. So if you're ever wondering what the name of your reserve is, or maybe you're working within a Indigenous community, on Cree Literacy Network, we have this big map of Cree names for Cree speaking communities. So even that's really important. So that's the one website that I want to share with you guys. The second one is called Itoewana. Itoewana. Itoewana is a dictionary. It is a Cree dictionary that if you're ever trying to look for a word in Cree, this is probably the best place online for you to go and type it in and be able to find it. So like, for example, if I'm looking for the word for dog, all you have to do is type in dog and it'll come up. But not only is it a dictionary, as we advance through the weeks, this will kind of become more understandable, but it's also showing all the different kinds of forms of that one word. Atim is just a dog by itself. You can find the plural form, atimwak. You can find the smaller version, like a puppy, achamus or achimosis. Or you can find forms that also show possessive, nitame, my dog, kitame, your dog, and so on. And if you're looking for a verb, for example, maybe eat, you can find the word for eat. And as well, you find all the different forms again. Me, chew, right here, the one that says up here, just means like he or she eats something. When you click on it, it shows you a bunch of different kinds of forms to say, nimichin, I eat, kimichin, you eat, and so on. So as you progress throughout the weeks, you'll see how this will be able to help you as learners to, figure out all these different forms. Mitso.
Mitso.
How? Yeah, miche is another one. Michu. Mitso just means kind of like eat in general. Mitso. Miche means to eat something, like eat something, like I like to eat potatoes. That's how you would say miche, is to eat something. So even that, as we progress throughout the weeks, you'll see there's different forms of words. And the last website that I want to talk about that I always kind of use for my own study still today is called the Algonquian Linguistic Atlas. And what this does, it allows you to see different phrases in Cree and hear them as they're said. So for example, family, if you want to know how to say, this is my mother. But not only will you be able to find it in this language, but if you zoom out, you see that we have all these little dots all across Canada. These are all different languages that are similar to Cree, but basically are languages amongst themselves. They're their own language, but they have similarities to Cree. For example, if you're in Manitoba, sounds almost exactly the same as Saskatchewan. But if we go all the way over here to Newfoundland, Labrador, kind of sounds different. Sounds way different. Yeah, Mi'kmaq is way different from our language, but this is good if you're ever wanting to learn, Cree phrases, different kinds of Cree phrases, all different kinds. This is my father, this is my older sister, as well as different categories of phrases. Talking social events. There's a wedding. There's a feast. There's a dance. Talking about the weather terms. It's raining. It's cold. All in different areas of Canada. So those are 3 websites that I want to, Swampy Cree, yeah, I think Peguis, right? Tanisha, I think you're from Peguis, that last name. That's what I like, last names sometimes, especially the ones in Saskatchewan and Southern Saskatchewan for sure. That you can kind of tell where people are from just by their last name, or even just how they sound, different res accents, and somebody's from Pasqua, and somebody's from Gordon's, and somebody's from CAC. Just kidding. But yeah, it's always good to meet different, people who speak Cree or who are interested in learning in Cree across Canada. But like I said, the farther you go, the more different they sound. So that's what I wanted to show you today, is those 3 different Cumberland House. So you're still in Saskatchewan, kind of. Now I want to talk about our PowerPoint here that I made. Oh, oops. So welcome to Cree, or Nehiowe Win. That's what we call Cree in Cree. Nehiowe Win. So if you ever hear me say, oh, the Nehiowe Win word for this is, or anything dealing with Nehiowe Win, that's what we call Cree in Cree. Because of course the Cree, like the name Cree, isn't Cree. It's actually French. It was the name that the French gave to us long ago. And it's kind of funny because when the French first started to meet the Cree people over in Quebec, they met them over in Quebec and coming down the St. Lawrence. They first off met the Ojibwe, and more so before that, they met the Iroquois. And when they met the Ojibwe, they were asking the Ojibwe, what do you call these people? What do you call these people? Talking about the Cree people. And the Ojibwe said, like, Kristino. or Kristen, I can't even say it because I don't speak that much Ojibwe, but they said Kristen or we have that one word in Soto now. I think people might know it as Kinistino, or even just Kinistin. Kinistin in Soto means Cree. That's what they called us. They called us the Cree people, the Kinistinoak. But Kinistin itself is the Cree, and over in the east, the Ojibwe called us Christin. And over time, the French started calling us Cristino. And they just more so cut that down just to Cree, which today, of course, became Cree. So that's how we got our name that we call ourselves, the Cree people. So as we go forward, when I say Nehioewin, that's what I'm referring to is the Cree language, because I'm trying to even switch within my own language, what we call ourselves. I try not to use Cree that much. I try more so use our own words for ourselves. Nehioewin is the Cree language. And of course, me, Darina Chigate. My last name, I always laugh. My last name is Soto. It's not Cree. I'm actually more Soto than I am Cree. But because Cree is the most general language, especially where I live in my area, southern Saskatchewan, and even northern Saskatchewan, it's the most general language. That's why, I kind of speak more Cree than I do Soto. I'm trying to pick up more Soto. I should be speaking Soto more, but I picked up Cree and I kind of took off with it right away. But yeah, Achigate is Soto, and it's funny because mud hen, that's what it means, mud hen. And down here in Saskatchewan, southern Saskatchewan, we speak Plains Creek, Y dialect. Oh, nice. Yeah, some of my cousins are from Pimichigamak. My Achkate cousins, I have a uncle who lives in Pimichigamak. Oh, so yeah, that's kita tam skatina. They're not chigate tigas. Ekawa kigamak ayate ochinia. Was kana ka sa stege no igen me go achigo nistro neo sab tato pipuna. Nigi kiskra mago sa meyo kiskra snaigan o mai isa puskaman. Nego gaskita mason ko takisra masnaigan takisra magia bigisque venoche. En kinanas kumitra ka kio ay peso gi kiskra magosie ka bigisque veneno. Ego e wichi he ek takao yo pinamak e wagode. So of course that's kind of really not a basic greeting, but something that I would say, especially if we're meeting for the first time in this kind of environment, talking, I would say hello, all of you. I greet all of you who are here. My name, of course, Darian Achkate. I come from the Cowsers Reserve, but I'm living in Regina right now. I'm 24 years old, so I'm kind of getting up there now. So I have to get my language going even in 2 times the speed. I completed a Cree language literacy degree at First Nations University. And now I'm working towards my graduate degree in Indigenous language education. So I'm about quarter ways done. I'm not even that much done my master's degree, but I'm working at it, and I'm hoping maybe in a year, maybe a year and a half or so, I'll be able to walk across that stage with my Indigenous language education, my master's. And with that, I can start to be able to gather more funding, start to be able to be more involved in programming for Cree language, and more so be able to have my foot, even more in the door for different kinds of opportunities to teach the language and share the language. So that's why it's important, that we get those kinds of degrees, either Indigenous education, Indigenous language education, Indigenous social work, because that's our foot in the door, making sure that we have our teachings and our culture within the world we live in. And I thank all of you who are here right now for coming to give an effort in learning our language, even if it's your mother language, you lost it. If you speak it, then you're just wanting to learn more, or maybe there's something that you're able to teach me, because that's what it's all about, Dave. I'm not here just to teach you. We're here to teach each other, and that's what it's all about. So I'm expecting that I'm going to be learning lots as well from you guys. So I thank all of you for coming, give an effort in learning our language, and also for helping me to revitalize the language, because what you take from this class, I encourage you to go out in your own family groups, in your own community, and use it. Take something from this class and go use it with your friends, with your family. Teach others what you take, and that's what's important. And of course, there's a picture of me with my elk. I couldn't find a good picture real last minute. So I was like, oh, I got this one. So don't mind the big elk. He's like smiling. But that was my first ever elk that I got by myself. I was with my brother, of course, but I was able to, get him, and we were able to cut him up and went and gave the food away. Nagwatsuin is what we call it. Nagwatsuin, the sharing, how we share our food, eh? And Nagwatsuin, that's what that was. So I always use that picture. So we have a kind of a plan that I want to, like I said, we'll be able to follow this, but when we turn left, sometimes during class, we might go right because there's always going to be stuff that we want to learn. If there's anything specifically that you're interested in learning throughout the weeks, let me or let the coordinator know maybe, or even just say it in the chat if there's a question that you have. I'm always watching the chat, so if there's ever a question during the weeks about any of the words, or maybe there's something that you want to learn more about, you want more, you want to learn more in depth for a single teaching, we can do that. We don't have to be just stuck to an agenda or stuck to a plan. But this is kind of the 10-week plan of what I'm going to try base my each week off of. So for example, like this one, week 1, we're just going to be introduced to the Cree language and learn a little bit about our own self-introduction. And from there, we learn about different things like numbers and months, talk about our age teachings. So we'll talk about location words, different sentences using those, learn about kinship terms and how you would maybe introduce one of your relatives. I'll talk a little bit about that right away, and so on. By the end of it, by the end of the class, week 10, I kind of want to give a full review of what we learned. And I know, it's hard. People work, people go to work. You guys have lives. Everybody has a life, So I'm not expecting you to be, just totally fluent by week 10. But what I am expecting, just give it a good effort, good try. Of course, there's lots of us in this class. There's, I think over 200 registered. We have about 100 in the room right now. So I'm going to be calling on people at random. Usually I'm in smaller classes, 15 to 20 people, maybe 30 people in the university setting. But with this, it's such a large class that I'm not going to be able to ask you all individually to, say what I want you to say. So I'm going to be calling you at random. I'm just going to be looking at the list and calling you at random. So if I say your name, you got to just be right on the ball and ready. But I want to make sure that, I'll try make sure that at least everybody gets a chance, even though that might be difficult. I'll try and make sure that everybody gets a chance to speak. So on. So we're going to try follow this 10-week plan, but like I said, we're going to just go with the flow. Whatever happens or whatever we start to speak about, then we'll go with it. Oh, yes, my dog. So there's goals and expectations, but you don't have to worry. This isn't, like I said, no, this isn't a university class. It's not even, it's a structured class, but it's not one that I'm expecting to have tests and quizzes. And, I'm not going to be doing that stuff, but there are some things that I want you guys to try and do in your own spaces, stay in Cree, meaning use the words that you learn from these lessons that you learn from these classes and try put them into daily use. Try find ways you can maybe use one word from each lesson, or even more if you want to challenge yourself, and try and incorporate them into your own daily use. The biggest thing about learning language is that you practice and that there's repetition. So that's what you'll always see. We're always going to be saying stuff over. We're always going to be practicing, always going to be repeating ourselves, because that's how we learn the language. That's how we get it kind of drilled into our head, is through practice and repetition. So that's what I want you guys to do. Always be practicing, always be repeating yourself, because that's the way that it'll be put right into your brain. And as well, if you have questions, please ask them. I'm always open to answering questions if I know the answer. If I don't know the answer, of course, I won't be able to answer it. But maybe there's somebody in this room who will have the answer. That's what's so great about having so much people tuning into these classes, is that, of course, I don't know everything. I don't really know that much. I just know a little bit about the language which I want to share. But we have some people in the room who are also very knowledgeable and may be able to answer it. But of course, if you have questions, please ask them. The more you put into learning Cree, the more effort you put into trying to acquire it, you will. That's what will happen. You will acquire it. And of course, just have fun. There's no pressure. This is like a no judgment zone. We're not gonna be laughing at you. If anything, we'll be laughing together. That's what it is about language sometimes, is that you guys just have a good belly laugh together because somebody can't say something, or they're stuttering. And it's not that we're laughing, it's like we're laughing with you, eh? And that's what it's all about, just having fun. We're all on this journey together. We're all learners, even me. Ahaw, but nihiwe tan. So before we actually get into learning the language, I want to make sure that we understand, a little bit about Nihiwewin itself. So Nihiwewin, or like I said, Cree, is one of the many languages. There's a bunch of them that descend from, that was my typo, from the same language family. So it comes from the same language family, meaning that all languages that are within the language family are related to each other. The name of the language family is Algonquian language family. So you'll see other similar languages that come from the same language family are like Anishinaabemowin or Soto. There's some languages more east, the Sauk, Fox, and Kickapoo, and Potawatomi. You'll see that those languages there, they have a good amount of similarities to Nihiwewin, especially Anishinaabemowin Soto. Like a Soto speaker, a fluent Soto speaker, and a fluent Cree speaker, even though they speak their own languages, Soto and Cree, they're able to understand each other and converse with each other in the languages. Put captions on. Are we able to put captions on? Can you do that, Miss Francis?
I'm just trying to figure that out right now.
Okay. And yeah, we'll be sharing any kind of Cree words, anything that I provide or talk about in class will be sent to you. You'll be able to use it and be able to look back on it. So like I said, those languages are really similar. They're able to kind of converse with each other. Nihiwewin can converse with Soto speakers fairly easily. But there's other languages that come from the same language family, Algonquian, but we don't really understand each other at all. Those are languages like Blackfoot or Cheyenne or Mi'kmaq. They all come from the same place, but those ones, Blackfoot, Cheyenne, and so on, we have a really hard time understanding them. So at one time, it's estimated over 2,500 to 3,000 years ago, all of these mentioned languages above, Anishinaabemowin, Blackfoot, all those ones in that list, including the Nihiwewin, we all spoke the same exact language, just one same exact language. Over time, over all those thousands of years, groups have split and they moved over, migrated to different places. There were sicknesses, some left because of sicknesses, some had to leave and run away because of warfare. And over thousands of years, all of these languages developed into their own distinct languages. This is why Cree, Nihiwewin, and Anishinaabemowin have a good number of similarities, because we view them as language siblings who are really close to each other. We've always been close to each other, so our languages are really similar. Oneida is actually a different language family. That is Irokonian. That's like the Tuscarora, Mohawk, Oneida. They speak a different language family. So they're not related to us. They have no real similarities. Well, they do, but they're not from the same language family. They're from a different language family. So you'll see that. Even Sioux, like Dakota, Lakota, Nakota, they come from a different language family. So they're not related to Cree. So that's what you'll see. We have different kinds of language families all over. Yeah, unless you, like, if you live in that area, that's what some people say about Cree. They're like, holy, it's hard to speak, but they like live in Ontario or around the Oneida, or maybe they are Oneida, or maybe they're Tuscarora or Mohawk, and they see our languages as difficult. But it's like same thing we see there, because we don't live over there. We're not part of their culture, and you'll see that they'll think that our language is hard. And Cree is fairly difficult to learn, but it's possible. You can. All you guys are able to learn it. So Nihiwewin, it's very widespread across Canada. You can find Cree speakers all over, as far east on the coasts of Newfoundland and Labrador, way over on the other side, east side of Canada, right on the shores of Newfoundland and Labrador, there's Cree communities, as well as far west as northeastern British Columbia. Right up in northeastern British Columbia, there are Cree speakers, Cree communities. Also in Rocky Boy, the Rocky Boy Reservation in Montana, they have a good number of Cree speakers over there as well. And there used to be lots of Cree speakers of, in Turtle Mountain in North Dakota. They had lots of Cree speakers. Yeah, see, you have somebody from Rocky Boy right there. Yeah, they have a good number of Cree speakers in Rocky Boy, so that's good that you're here. Oh, who's that? Oh, nice. Oh, I see. No, somebody was talking to me on there. So, like I said, you'll find Cree speakers all over. But depending on where you are living, in Saskatchewan, we speak a certain way. Over in Newfoundland and Labrador, they speak a certain way. And sometimes we don't understand each other. Even though we speak the same language, because we're so far apart from each other, there's differences within the language. So there are 5 main dialects. Before we move on, we talk about the 5 main dialects that we see in the Hiuewan. There's Y dialect, TH dialect, N dialect, L dialect, and R dialect. I'm going to be teaching these classes in Y dialect because it's the dialect that's most commonly spoken. It's the dialect with the most amount of speakers. So that's why, but you'll see that how many intelligible the dialects in Newfoundland and Labrador have no mutual intelligibility with the dialects over here in Saskatchewan. Even though we speak the same language, we don't understand each other at all because we're so far apart from each other. We've been far apart for hundreds of years. Languages change over time, and those changes kind of pile up on each other, making it really hard to understand each other. But we are still technically Cree speakers. We just, of course, in different areas and so far apart from each other. But like the Y dialect, the TH dialect, and the N dialect, Plains Cree, Woods Cree, and Swampy Cree, we can all understand each other fairly well in our own dialects. We can speak with each other like a Y dialect speaker can speak with a TH dialect and be able to get the gist, understand what's going on. It's vice versa. And Y dialect speaker talking to an N dialect speaker, able to understand each other. It's these dialects that are more farther east, the L dialect and the R dialect. Moose Cree, spoken in Moose Factory at the southern part of James Bay, and Atikamekw or Quebec Cree. This is spoken right near, Quebec, right in the southwestern parts of Quebec. Our dialect, those ones, we have a hard time understanding. So like I said, there are other dialects, Newfoundland and Labrador, but since the language is so different from our own, because of the distance and time we have been apart, there's difficulty in trying to understand each other. So that's what you'll run into sometimes. So here's a basic greeting in Y dialect in Cree, in the Hiue. So greeting someone in the Hiue, it's important to learn for beginners. Many may already know the words used in this upcoming dialogue, but now we will learn what the general response is to someone greeting you in the language. So a lot of us, especially if you've been around Cree or you're already learning Cree and you're just, trying to take more classes, try to get yourself more immersed in the language, you probably already know this stuff, but it's always good, like I said, practice and repetition is the biggest thing when you're learning language. So there's going to be a dialogue consisting of 2 speakers, speaker A and speaker B. And I'm just going to pick at random, like I said. So for example, speaker A is just going to say, Tansikia, Tansikia. So even by yourselves, everybody say Tansikia. Again, Tansikia. So that just means hello. How are you? Tansikia. Oh, nice. West Coast Southern Shimshin. That's on in BC. That's deadly. Tansikia. So hello, how are you? That's what that means. Tansikia. You might hear some people just say Tansik by itself. Tansik. If you want to add a little bit more onto that, you just say Tansikia. Hello, how are you? And the most general response to that, somebody will respond, so they'll say Namoya Nanto. Say that. Namoya Nanto. Again, Namoya Nanto. So it'd go like Tansikia. Namoya Nanto. Kiamaga. So Namoya Nanto just means I am okay. I'm fine. I'm doing fine. I'm okay. Namoya Nanto. And Kiamaga is kind of saying, how about you? How are you doing? And most commonly, you'll hear the speaker, other person say, Peaguan. 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 And Peaguan just means I am the same. I'm doing the same. I'm the same as you. I am fine as well. And this is something that I always kind of say to end off this kind of thing. I say, tagage ewago. Tagage ewago. Egusi. So that whole conversation right there just says, hello, how are you? No, I'm fine. How about you? I'm the same. That is good. See ya. That's what you'd be running into somebody on the street speaking Cree. That's what you would say. So for example, if I was to say that to Amy, I'd say Amy. And then the other part right here. Peaguan. And then say this, say tagagi ewago. Egusi. Perfect. Let's see. Oh, Farley. Tansikia.
Namoy nantaw kiyamaka.
Peaguan.
Tagaki ewago egosi.
There we go. Perfect. What's going on, bro? Some of these people I know in here, so it'll be fun. Let's see. Catherine Snow.
Which one would you want me to say?
I'll be speaker A. I'll say Tansikia.
Namuya Nanto. Kiyamaga.
Peaguan.
Oh, I can't see that one. Can't quite see the screen, but Tahaki.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I don't know why.
So say this. Say Tagagi
Tagagi?
ewago.
Ewako.
Egusi.
Egosi.
Perfect. Now I'll ask one more person. 99 people in here, so I don't want to imagine if we did this with all 99 of you, that'd be taking more than an hour. And holy, I don't even, how do you say your name? The doctor, the Mr. Zolotarov. That's a cool, how do you say your first name, Mr. Doctor?
Zolotarov.
No, what's your first name? Philip?
Philip, it's Ukrainian.
Oh, that's cool, man. Philip. So I'll be speaker A. I'll say Tansikia.
Namoya nantaw kiyamaga.
Peaguan.
Takaki ewago egosi.
There we go. Perfect. So that's what you could say to somebody who's speaking Cree. You're trying to be real deadly in Cree. But the first part right there, just the first two lines, that's probably the most common. Tansikia. Namoy nanto. How are you? Oh, I'm fine. And then you guys go along your ways. But if you're with a real fluent Cree speaker, they'll be like, Tansikia. Namoy nanto kiyamaga. And then they'll just keep on going on. That's when you got to say, oh no, this is my first class, I'm not like that right now. No, well, give me 10 weeks. So that's what I want to make sure. If anybody ever says tansikia or tansi to you, all you have to say is namoya nanto. Anybody ever says tansi, the first most general response that you're going to pop out is namoya nanto. Namoya nanto. No, I'm fine. I'm doing okay. Everything's good. Namoya nanto. All this extra stuff is just, of course, extra. If there's anything that I want to take out, this basic greeting is just those first two. Tansi. Namoya nanto. Because that's what you'll always hear. Yeah, 10 weeks in, all of a sudden you guys will just be talking about your whole entire day in Cree. So our self-introduction isn't just gonna be tonight's class, because of course we only have 13 minutes, but that's okay. We're gonna be practicing our self-introduction throughout all the weeks. We're gonna assign, maybe 15 or 20 minutes in the first part of class, maybe next week we'll practice a little bit of self-introduction and then get into what I have planned. Maybe in week 5 we'll do a review. I want to try make sure that we're able to introduce ourselves in the here, especially just talking about what your name is and where are you from. What is your last name is kind of extra that I put on there. So there's 5 questions and also the answers that we'll be learning throughout the whole 10 weeks. And those 5 questions and the answers to them in English, of course, is what is your name? What is your last name? Where are you from? Where did you grow up? And where do you live now? So most of these questions, they are common within Cree circles, within Cree classes. You'll always hear people learning, teaching these kinds of things. But I always feel like, especially questions number 1, what is your name? And number 3, where are you from? Those are important to know how to say and to ask for yourself. Because being able to introduce yourself in the language is probably the most important for me, to make sure that we get out there, because that's going to be the beginning to your language journey. Being able to tell who you are in the language. From there, you can start to branch out about learning about different things. But like I said, question number 1 and question number 3, what is your name and where are you from? Those are the most common questions that you'll run into out in the Cree world. People want to know your name, people want to know where you're from. If you're snaggable, that's what they're trying to figure out right there. So just be careful. No, that's what I want to make sure that we get out from this class, is being able to have good answers for most of these questions. And more so, I feel like it's really important to have a good answer for question number 1 and question 3. What is your name and where are you from? Those are always what you're going to be hearing in Cree circles. So for example, we're going to start out real easy. The first one, what is your name? The question that we put out there in Cree, everybody repeat after me, say, Tansi Kitsikasun. Tansi Kitsikasun. So now we're going to just try say it more in regular speech. When we say it in regular speech, it sounds like Tansi Kitsikasun. Tansi Kitsikasun. So again, everybody try to say it regular speed. Say Tansi Kitsikasun. And don't worry, this is the very first time we're showing this question, the very first time that we're going to be answering it. If you stumble in your words, or if you have pauses, or you're just not getting it right, don't worry. We're going to be practicing these words throughout the 10 weeks. By the end of it, you're going to be able to ask this question to others and as well answer it for yourself. So that's what we say when we ask the question. We say, Tansi Kitsikasun. What is your name? Tansi Kitsikasun. And you'll see that the word tansi is in there. Tansi. Tansi. Yeah, I'm not sure what do you call it. What book are you using, Jasmine?
I'm just using an online workbook that I got from my other Cree language class that I'm also in. But the workbook, the presentations, the spellings are different. I just noticed that.
That's because how I spell is using standard Roman orthography. It's a standardized spelling system that we use for the Cree language. The Solomon Rat. The Solomon Rat spelling system. Yeah, and Solomon was the one that taught me a lot on SRO. And because if you go to university and take Cree classes at First Nations University, you have to learn standard Roman orthography. That's how and that's why I spell it in this way. Using the macron circumflexes, the little hats over the A. That's using standard Roman orthography. So that's why you might see different spellings compared to other places for how I spell things in here. But I'm following, of course, SRO. It's the standardized writing system we're trying to push out into the world so that, we're able to have a good standard spelling for most of our words. But I love that. The Solomon Rat. I love this. The Solomon Rat orthography, SRO. Oh. So now when we're answering that, all you have to say is your name, Nitsikasun. Everybody say Nitsikasun. Again, nitsikasun. So if somebody was to ask me, myself, tansikatsikasun, I would say, Darian nitsikasun. Yeah, sigaso yin, a sigaso yin. You'll see that as well. People will say the sigaso, a sigaso yan, like this, a sigaso yan means the exact same thing. My name is, it's just a different way of saying it. So again, that's why depending on community or depending on where your Cree is spoken, they might have different ways to say that. A sigaso yin, a sigaso yan. So that's what you'll see. I understood that, Mr. The guy who, sorry, your name disappeared on me. Belden. That's cool. Yeah, from Montana, Rocky Boy. So see, over in Rocky Boy, and even in northern Alberta, they say that. They say, lots of people I've seen, not northern Alberta, but more so in Alberta up there, they say Esigasoyan, talking about their name. Of course, I always just learned it Nitsikasun. So of course, that's a Darian Nitsikasun. And it's the form that I use because if you look at the highlight, the yellow parts that are highlighted, that's really the only change that's happening in that sentence. In the question itself, the beginning is ki, ki, ki. Whereas in the answer, it turns to ni, ni, kitsikasun, nitsikasun. And that's what you'll always see, is that the ki at the beginning there, it represents you. As what is your name? Ne represents me, or in this case, mine. Talking about, remember, nitsikasun, my name. So that's that change that's going on there. That change is represented by the first little sound. Tansikatsikasun, what's your name? Darian nitsikasun. My name is Darian. So now I want to ask a few of you, we have about 5 minutes here. I want to ask a few of you to say this with me. Mr. Vincent, Dr. Vincent, tansi. Nice to see that you made it.
It's good to
So if
see
I was to
you.
ask you, Mr. Vincent, Dr. Vincent, sorry, tansikatsikasun, what would your answer be?
Vincent Nitsikasun.
Again, tansikatsikasun.
Vincent Nitsikasun.
There we go. Yeah, Vincent and me, we both, he's a doctor. He's a real smart guy.
I
And,
try.
yeah, no, you are. You're really smart. And I see him in the halls. So we better be ready, Vincent. When I see you in the halls, I'm gonna ask what your name is like a million times. So
Can I ask one quick question, Darian?
yeah, what's up?
When I see the 2 E's and the 2 A's for Kitsikasun, when you're saying to say this, casually, when you have multiple letters together, obviously that's a hard vowel, but that makes it a longer pronunciation. Is that right?
Yeah, that
Okay.
whole TISIY,
Yeah.
it just collapses and becomes like T.
Yeah. See, longer. Okay.
Yeah. But no, you said it perfectly, man.
Kitsikasun.
Good job.
Cool. Thanks.
How? Mr. Tyler, Tyler.
Tanse
Tansikatsikasun.
Tyler Nitsika-san.
Again, Kito, I'm Tansikatsikasun.
Tyler Nitsika-san.
There we go. You still have some of those skills. Tyler was one of my good students. That was spring semester. He took my class at FNU. He did really good. So it's good to see you here, Tyler. Keep on learning some more Cree. So, good job. Let's see. Who else? Who can I bully? Just kidding. Oh, Belden. Actually, you're from Rocky Boy. I want to hear you. Tansikatsigasun or Tansikatsigasun.
Belden Nitsikasun.
Yes, and you said you're from Rocky Boy, eh?
Yeah.
Oh, Lee, that's deadly. It's gonna be fun to have somebody from Rocky Boy come in and joining. So it's good to meet you, man. We're gonna have some fun over the 10 weeks. And yeah, you said that perfect, which I expected.
Good to meet you.
And let's see. Crystal. Is it cauliflower? Is that or do you say your last name different?
It's cauliflower.
Cauliflower? Okay, not call but call it.
My brother.
Oh, no, really?
My
That's
brother.
tansi kitsi kasun.
Crystal Nitsikasun.
Kito am tansi kitsi kasun. Again, I'll say tansi kitsi kasun. Yeah.
Crystal Nitsikasun.
There we go. Perfect. Holy, you sound fluent. That's good. Oh, thank you. And let's see. Sorry, I was. Yeah, everybody's gonna get a copy of PowerPoint. Yeah, be fun for the 10 weeks. Like I said, we're gonna follow somewhat of a schedule, have some plans, do some stuff, learn some language. But like I said, if you ever have any questions or there's something that you want to learn specifically, maybe that we jumped over very quickly or I didn't mention, let me know. And then we'll be able to talk about it. Northern Cree, yeah, Southern Cree is different. It is different, yeah. It is, but we were able to understand each other. That's what I like. Like when I speak to northern, like in northern Manitoba speakers, they speak like N dialect up there in northern, and I'm able to understand them. They can understand me. TH speakers, northern Saskatchewan and southern Saskatchewan, we could understand each other fairly well. We're close to each other. You know, Solomon, his first language is TH Cree. But he always laughs at me because he always wants me to say things in TH Cree, and I can't really switch dialects. So like, for example, oh, look at Lori. That's it, Lori. That's another one of my coworkers, my students. Now that's good to see. So for example, like in TH dialect, I don't know if I spelled it right. They like say nittisavikasan, nittisavikasan, nittisavikasan. It's a Zcass, and they have that th in there, and it's Zcass. And me, I can't get those th sounds because I don't speak th. I speak Y dialect. So Solomon's always teasing me and poking me. He's like, "Hey, say this in th. I want to laugh." I'm like, "Oh, get out of here, Wes." But that's what I wanted to look at today. Make sure that we got to our names. Next class, we're going to start to look at the different questions all going down here. So that's why I said our self-introduction is going to be continuing throughout all the different weeks that we're meeting. So we're going to be, and like I said, we have lots of people in this Zoom meeting. I'm going to try and make sure that everybody gets a fair chance to speak. And yeah, we'll have fun. That will be much again. It'll be really fun. Who would I speak to at FNU about enrolling in the Cree program? We have different student advisors who you could talk to, who will give you more information about all the different language programs that we have at FNU. Not only just Cree, but you can learn, get Soto. Yeah, kitam ki gamit no tapwe. That's deadly. You'd learn, Dene. You would learn. I don't know if they have a Dakota degree. I think they just have a certificate. But like we have Todd Ichter, she's one of the guys that you're able to talk to. But just look up on First Nations University language programs, Indigenous language programs more. If you type that into Google, it'll take you right to all the different language programs or language certificates that we have at First Nations University. What dialect does Northern Alberta speak? They speak something called Northern Y dialect. Northern Y dialect. Yeah, Julie Roy, Solomon Rat. We also have Tammy Rat. Me, I'm not a professor, but I teach at First Nations University in Regina here, and also Andrea Custer. Andrea Custer would actually be probably a good person to speak to. She's our department. She's kind of our boss. She's the one we talk to in regards to all the language programs. So she would be another good person, Andrea Custer. She speaks fluent Cree. It's her first language. She's a really, really great Cree professor. And she would probably be a good one to talk to if you're interested about learning language programs at FNU. But sorry, I just cut myself off. In northern Alberta, they speak what we call Northern Y dialect. Down here in southern Saskatchewan, we speak, of course, Southern Y dialect. Northern Y dialect, it's almost exactly the same as Southern Y dialect, almost exactly the same. The only difference is that in Northern Y dialect, it is long I instead of long E. You won't really see a long E. A. That's what that long E sound makes. A. They don't really use those sounds in northern Alberta. So for example, I say Nehiwe win, Cree language. Up there, you'll more so hear Nihiwi win, Nihiwi win, Nihiwi win. So that's what you'll see. But we'll be able to talk more about dialects and the differences. From what I know, like I said, I don't know everything, of course, but what I do know, I'll share with all you guys. But I think we're going a little bit over time. If I could talk and talk all I want, because language is fun and I love it. So I hope to share all that with all of you guys in the next coming weeks. So everybody have a good night. We'll see each other all again next week on Thursday, same time. Aha.
Go pumpkin.
Tapoy ka pumpkin.
Thank you.